the game, assuming there's no proxies.
We'll see what happens. But anyways, in the upper left, excuse me, in the blue, he's for Dragon Kites Gaming. He's your reigning world champion and reigning Katowice champion as well. It's Oliveira.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right. For Team Liquid, it is Cure. And he came out swinging in his series versus Bunny. Dropped that proxy second barracks in game number 1. Basically won the game outright with the play there. In game 2, went for the proxy 2-racks Reaper straight up. And actually didn't get that much done, but was able to muscle out a victory anyways with just some heads up play. Very cool stuff out of Cure. Now, Oliveira, he is a player that is much safer on average, so it doesn't make a ton of sense for Cure to go for a proxy. And you can see he knows how Oliveira plays. Obviously, Oliveira tends to do everything a lot safer. So you're not going to see him doing stuff like a Reaper straight into Reactor without a scout, most likely. And that, I appreciate that Cure does not try and do something crazy against that.
Yeah, and remember as well, the group matchups have been out for about a month, three or 4 weeks right now. So you've had a month. Cure's had a month to say, let me study Oliveira. Let me see how he plays. Oh, nice job that Oliveira keeps the Reaper on the high ground. So yeah, his SCV is going to take some damage, but it means he gets the first shot on the Reaper, which again is going to be very, very nice for him. It's going to shove that Reaper away. But Cure and Oliveira both have had a month to prep, have had a month to say, hey, what do I think my opponent's going to do? How do I design 3 builds for this matchup to make sure that I'm in a good spot? And yes, I think part of that was, I think part of the Bunny series planning was to kind of put a shot across the bow against Oliveira and say, hey, Oliveira, be careful. But for now, okay, that's a problem. Double shot there on the Reapers. So Oliveira's going to opt into this for now. His Reaper's dead, 1 for 1, but it's not a good HP situation. So the command center will be delayed. It's not the end of the world. There is still the cyclone out, so he's going to be safe. But this slows the command center down just a little bit. It gets an SCV down. It's an advantage, Steadfast, but it's not the biggest of one. Still hurts a little bit.
And it hurts a fair bit. It hurts a fair bit because they were doing relatively mirrored openings. And now with the dead SCV and the fact that the orbital was delayed quite a bit, that's going to turn into a 2, maybe 2.5 worker lead for Cure. So strong start for him. Cure will be going for the double cyclone drop, and we are going to be seeing Attack of the Clones after all here, as Oliveira's gone very quickly into the reactor cyclone. This is a situation where players that are fast, players with great micro and really good multitasking feel confident going for this, and these are 2 players who I would expect to see going into these cyclone drops, so it doesn't surprise me a whole lot. We could see a situation where things get a little bit weird. Cure did go for the medevac quite a bit faster, and the 2nd and 3rd cyclones are not yet out, but he does have the other units at home. Fortunately for Oliveira, he did soak the 1 shot. Medevac will get locked onto, and that is going to be a full cleanup. Does cost him 1 cyclone, and I think a Reaper. Okay, cyclone, Reaper, and SCV, but he kills the medevac, and now he's the one who gets to do what he wants. That is to say, Oliveira. So this is I think this is a pretty big advantage for Oliveira right here, despite the fact that he's down 4 workers. He has so much potential with this drop.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're looking at a 4 worker differential, fine. Talk to me in about 30 seconds, Steadfast, 45 seconds. Let me know what the worker differential is there, because again, you're right, there's a ton of potential on top of that. And now Cure, he's dropping his 3rd base as well. All the cyclones are at the front. This drop in the main base is going to be a problem. The 3rd base certainly is going to be delayed for a time. It's already behind, and well, 3 SCVs go down very, very quickly. Should be 4 and 5 going. So there we go. Oliveira now, he gets the cyclones of his opponent. He gets a worker lead. He delays the 3rd base. Not a single iota, not the teensiest bit of damage, not a scratch on these cyclones. They're not going to want to dive in right now because, of course, there are 2 cyclones on the high ground, and medevacs don't want to soak that damage. But Oliveira, for everything that his command center is a little bit delayed, wants to make sure that this nice job of the Reaper to delay the 3rd base a little bit. For all that his natural was delayed, he's not too upset about things. The one thing that you're not even worried about necessarily, but one thing to point out, is that interference matrix is a little bit slower for Oliveira. Cure's not going to turn that into a push. And now, well, we're moving on. Stims on the way for both sides. Third base just about done. Adding in those extra barracks. Oliveira falling down on a worker because of just production cycles. But yeah, game moves on.
Yeah, that interference matrix is super unimpactful. What we're more looking for is the fact that, you know, he remembered to make it. And they both go up to 3 Ravens. Now, Cure was quicker into those Ravens in general, which means his transition into medevacs, etc., or in this case, actually building reactors, is faster. Scan comes down, I suppose, wanting to make sure it's not battle mech without having to expose the medevac drop. Now, you might be saying as well, why did Cure have his Cyclones at the front? He was actually worried about the potential of a push, because that can be very dangerous when you fall down in those Cyclone numbers. If your opponent, you know, drops an auto turret, drops 2 auto turrets, and they have 1 more Cyclone, and you don't jump on top of that with a maybe 5 to 6, even 8 SCV pull right away, and your opponent even has 1 more Cyclone and a medevac, you can find yourself in huge trouble very quickly. So that's why Cure was out of position for the drop in the main base. He knew that he had to potentially just eat some damage. But I just wanted to explain why that might have seemed like he was out of position. Oh, this could be very interesting right here. There is a siege tank in the back for Cure. He is going to get a really big shot to start things off, and it's 2 auto turrets being dropped for 1. Oliveira didn't need to do this. I thought he was setting up to try and snipe the 3rd CC as it landed, and if he just set up for that, I think that would have been a really awesome play. But instead, he kind of runs into that 1 siege tank. We see the flimsiness of the Cyclones does kind of show itself, and this is well, this is pretty good for Cure because he gets to secure this 3rd base now.
Oliveira's had his 3rd base down for a little bit longer, so really not. It's nice for Cure certainly to make sure that's up, but Oliveira's 3rd base was done faster. His orbital was done faster. Oliveira's going to go for the break right here, and his Ravens are tanking some of the shots of the Cyclones, I think, but they're just too many auto turrets, so it's not really going to be breakable at the moment. Kites away, the Cyclones are going to fall down. Ravens are going to die on both sides here. Oliveira is going to have to pick up, diving away. Keeps 1 of his Cyclones alive, and he has to be very careful of that lock-on. And these fights are always so weird to look at, Steadfast, because it's, man, yep, you got to be very careful there. Because the Cyclone auto turret spam is about the Cyclones, absolutely, and it's about the auto turrets, absolutely, but it's, so the Cyclones want to target the Ravens down before the auto turrets go down, but if the auto turrets go down, then you want to immediately shift off the Ravens. That's a nice little drop, getting another SCV.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, very nice. He's going to keep it alive.
Nice job. Something very important happened there. I'll see if I can talk about it before the fight breaks out. There was an attempted interference matrix on the siege tank in the back of Cure. Oliveira was not able to get it off. Cure was able to get the block on that. Cute little move right here from Oliveira, by the way. Sneaks up on his opponent's Marines. Does get a big shot. It's not going to lead to any kills, but it does discourage his opponent and kind of shoves him back. They both were heavily distracted by this setup, so they both forgot their armory for a little bit, but Oliveira was much faster, relatively speaking, to get that armory done. So he can go into the 2-2 a little bit faster. Cyclone on the watchtower will get spotted and should get taken down. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, the fact that that interference matrix got blocked made a huge difference in that fight. If that siege tank gets shut down, that's a drastic difference right there. So 1 heads-up move from Kira. Ooh, Supply Depot actually blocking the concave brutally, and allows Oliveira to take a better trade with less Marines. Nice heads-up play from Oliveira there.
And that is a much better concave, but you mentioned it, Steadfast. 2-2 now on the way for Oliveira, actually a pretty significant margin. Here's going to have 16 Marines in the main base, but Oliveira, he's got a lot of his army. Yes, and it's going to be a couple dead SCVs, but this is going to be an entirely dead 20 supply. Getting knocked down very quickly. Medevac can try to boost away, but there are Vikings here, so that's not going to get much done. This is where it gets a little bit more problematic, though, because on the right side, Oliveira does not have his army here. This 3rd base, yeah, I don't think it's going to be able to run away in time. Oliveira's going to try to opt into the fight, but the tanks on the back line make it so hard. And this 4th command center from Oliveira is going to just die where it stands, knocked out of the sky. Question, though, as we saw in that Clem series, what's going to happen on the counterattack? Kira's got his 4th base 3/4 of the way done, 80% done. It's not on location just yet. Ooh. Oliveira, though, is setting up for a massive surround on this. He's got a lot of army on the right side. His tanks are all sieged up, loses the Vikings, which is not what you want. By the way, did I say surround? I meant counterattack, because that's a lot of Marines getting ready to move on the other side. I don't know who scans that is, but anyways, he's going to load up in the main base. 1 medevac goes down, though, and that is a significant portion of this task force. SCVs still have to get pulled anyways. And this is a lot of damage that Oliveira or that Cure's going to take. It's going to get cleaned up. And actually, no, it's going to get cleaned up in an insane way because on the right side as well, Oliveira, he got 14 SCVs steadfast, but he lost his fourth base. He lost a couple tanks. He lost a ton of Marines. He lost a couple medevacs. 14 SCVs is not worth that.
No, it certainly is not. This is a really interesting little fight breaking out here. Both players siege up, but there's a lot more Marines for Cure. 2-2 not quite done for Oliveira, and Cure might just overwhelm him right here. Enough tanks do survive to make this still decent for Oliveira on the hold. Oh, scan. Okay, the siege tanks are not in range of one another, but okay, we're just going to see a tap out. Wow. Obviously, Oliveira doesn't know that Cure never started his 2-2. And he lost his third base. He lost a lot of army. There was some really crucial moments right there where Cure had some incredibly intelligent scans. Once he killed that fourth base, he obviously knew that Oliveira needed to get something done very quickly. And he marked that situation. He said, okay, I have a great siege up on you, but you're in a position where you can make a dive for my base. And he scans, he watches the tanks on siege, he watches them re-siege, and then he scans again further south just to see, okay, are you going for my main? Are you going to go for my third? What's it going to be? And just a really good job of, after getting that advantage, keeping tabs on everything and never letting Oliveira do to Cure what he almost did to Clem in that game number 2 of their series.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I'm a little bit surprised. He was in a really rough spot. Don't get me wrong, Steadfast, but I saw that never die attitude from Oliveira in that Clem game number 2. So I'm a little surprised that he taps out. I'm not even gonna say early because again, he was in a really rough spot. But you know, before he was forced out of the game, which is what happened in that Clem series. But you know, it's game 1. If I'm Oliveira, considering how I've been playing thus far, I'm still pretty confident about my results. I'm still pretty confident about how things are happening. So. I don't know whose map pick is who. I don't know. I think, no, I do know. Cure's higher seed. So that was Cure's map pick. Now we move into Oliveira's for Solaris. I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make, but in the context of things, I mean, it's not like this is the elimination map or not even like this is the decider map in the series. It's just game 1. You know, you can go and come back and do something else and maybe save that mental energy for game 2 or game 3, whatever's going to happen.
I think that in the series versus Clem, Oliveira was able to make a lot of plays, specifically in that game number 2. Whereas in this series versus Cure, all the plays that Oliveira wanted to make got blocked. And they got blocked pretty hard. Yes, SCVs went down, but that was Oliveira's big move. That was his huge counter punch. And it didn't achieve what it wanted to. So Cure did an excellent job of recognizing his position, recognizing he was ahead, knowing he could lose some workers in exchange for shutting down the big play. But we're going to get into game number 2 here.
There we are on the bottom left. He's down a game, looking to at least take us to game number 3 for Dragon Kites of Gaming. It's Oliveira.
And his opponent spawning up at the top right for Team Liquid. Playing a very heads-up game number 1. It is Cure. Very impressive stuff. Like, I really have to give Cure a lot of kudos for that one. Not just getting himself in a position, because it was a little bit fortunate that he was able to, just kind of walk up to that 4th command center. I think he recognized that Oliveira had rallied maybe too much army into his own main base. And kind of set up for that defense maybe against something like a double drop, because even though that double drop got cleaned up and really didn't do much in the main of Oliveira, Cure was moving his main army to the right side at that point, and that's what set up the massive advantage that Cure had.
No, it really did. I think the one thing you called out was the scan. That he knew what was going to happen. And, even if Oliveira loses that drop, I think as long as he doesn't lose the rest of the task force on the right side that had, I don't know how many Marines, but a decent amount of his tank count, maybe he's able to do a little bit more, stay in that a little bit more. But losing the drop and the tank count and that tank Marine task force on the north side and losing, again, a lot of his tanks on the backside, yeah, it did force the tap up. But we move into game 2 Steadfast. And There were certainly some things we liked about how Oliveira played the game one. His cyclo control, his ability to get damage done on that front, I mean, that was kind of the big thing for Oliveira. So we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen in this game two. For now, Cure, he's got an SCV, he's got a Reaper. And the key thing you're going to want to do here, of course, is you're going to want to lead with the SCV to tank that first Reaper shot, although he's not really doing it, but now it's going to be in position. Oliveira, though, he's wise to things. He's going to just target the Reaper down anyways. Damage done on both sides. SCVs fall on both sides, but this is still more damage for Cure than it was for Oliveira because, yeah, Cure lost an SCV and there's mining time lost there. Oliveira's command center's delayed, and that's where the SCV went down.
Yeah, I think it ends up being a bit of a wash actually in this case because you pulled the SCV across the map, and you can see that the command center timings are pretty much identical even with that little bit of loss. I don't hate the play from Cure, but even with it kind of achieving its objective about as much as you could hope for, it still ends up being about even. So there's a reason we don't see that particular play very often anymore, is because while it can achieve results, and obviously in a perfect world, you know, Oliveira actually messes up the micro and loses his Reaper or loses the HP battle hard enough that, you know, he's off that command center for, instead of maybe 5-10 seconds, it's like 20 plus. But yeah, I don't think that's as strong of a play as it used to be because players are just generally better now. Oliveira does get into the main base, gets a little bit of a scout, but he also gets the Reaper picked off. And that scout didn't tell him a whole lot. I suppose it tells him that the reactor is naked, which he could infer that his opponent is going to be going for the double cyclone production after that, which is exactly what's happening. But you're not 100% certain about that. Regardless, Oliveira, he is going to be going into tanks behind this, and it will be Cyclone drop versus Cyclone drop. But once again, this time, Cure is faster across the map, but there is no defense this time. Cure could get a ton of damage. Actually, there's not even vision.
No, he's got no idea. There's a single Cyclone that's not in the medevac, but it's not going to be right here. So just locking down everything. SCVs are slow on the pull as well, so it's 5 dead SCVs. We're probably going to see the refinery fall as well. This SCV pull, you need more than one Cyclone. This is just not nearly enough. So I guess they're Marines here. One Cyclone actually does go down. It's absolutely damaged. I'm surprised at how well it did. And Oliveira's going to get the positive lockout on these Cyclones as well, I would think. Knocks one down, tries to get the second, but it's on the Marine. It soaks the Marine shot. Oliveira takes more damage. He doesn't get as much. He's just going to be forced out of here. So Cure still has this potential as well. He's going to drop right back into the main base. There are some low SCVs. There's nothing here. And this is where it starts to become a significant problem.
I mean, it's already been a bit of a problem. The counter damage softened the blow, but this is much, much worse now. Even 3 SCVs additional from the disadvantage is a big deal. He does get the cleanup on that medevac and the Cyclone, which is nice. But Cure had done enough damage to his opponent's medevac and Cyclone such that Oliveira couldn't really dive back in. Oliveira did go into tanks quickly, though. And this is the push that actually can yield positive results against a Cyclone committed player. And this is one of the maps that's relatively choky. So there is an opportunity here. Interesting decision from Oliveira to go for a Liberator as well. If he can get it sieged up on the natural, or even better, the ramp of his opponent, there is a lot of potential here from Oliveira. Cure, very cool move with the Cyclone's going to be looking to intercept reinforcements with those 3 that are already on the map. And will find, he's going to find a Marine, maybe another one. But this siege up is scary.
There is a disturbing lack of quality in Cure's army right now. He doesn't have interference matrix. He's going to try to bomb the Ravens. The auto turrets on the backside. They're going to drop those auto turrets down as the SCVs do get repaired, but the tanks are living quite a while. Cyclone's on the backside, though, on the reinforcement line, shutting this all down. It's 4 dead SCVs, but Steadfast. 4 dead SCVs for 2 tanks and a bunch of Marines and a Liberator and everything else that Oliveira just lost. Yeah, that's not enough. That is not nearly enough.
No, that was a really great break from Cure, and that shows an extremely good understanding of what you can do and how to play this little setup here. That was fantastic, honestly, from Cure. Really great break. Like, I can't overstate how well he did that. Yeah, that was that looked really scary, and he kind of trivialized it. So Cure comes out 6 workers ahead. He's way ahead in Ravens. It's 3-1 at this moment. We are going to see a second one popping out from Oliveira, but Cure is already transitioning into the next stage. We do see Oliveira was really fast to his 1-1 upgrades, which is quite cool. Actually, wow, how did he get the production so fast? He built a second barracks. No, okay, no, there's a third one lifted. Okay, so Oliveira's production is pretty fast, but this counter push from Cure, even though we think of Cyclones as early game units, if you can lock down both tanks in the front, Oliveira could very easily die to this. If Cure scans, recognizes the possibility, this looks super scary for Oliveira for a moment.
And look at this as well. We got double tech lab on barracks as Oliveira. He goes for 1-1 very quickly, and that means his stim is delayed. Yeah, he acknowledges that, yeah, he wants that combat shield. He wants the stim at a relatively reasonable timing. So it's double tech lab on the barracks, which is, again, that's not what you want in Marine tank necessarily. If he thinks this is mech, maybe that's a little bit different. But Oliveira on top of everything, and we talked about being able to shut the tanks down. Really nice. Stim being slow, sure, fine. Oliveira's Ravens are on the other side of the map. So this is going to be 3 Ravens versus 0 on this. He's moving out to try to take the third base, and Cure is right here. He's well aware what's happening. Oliveira moves down the ramp, triggers the lock-ons a little bit early, and he actually gets some really nice shots on the Cyclones. It's not enough to kill them, but it's enough to weaken them down, and that might be enough to shove him away. Cure, again, this army is still, as you said, it is terrifying. But it's not going to go. Oh, it's going to find the he's going to find the Ravens. Oh, that's a problem. Big.
Oh, nice job. Saves 1. Honestly, considering the positioning there, it would have been very easy to lose both. So this is interesting. The double tech lab is just to make up for, obviously, the fact that he delayed the stim and combat shields by a fair bit. It's not quite ideal, but you can use one of those tech labs on a factory later. Second one is kind of bunk, but it's not a big deal. Stim not quite done yet for Oliveira. If it were, he maybe could have jumped this, because he did have combat shields already done and 1-1 was done. But that advantage window is very quickly closing, as 1-1 will complete for Cure in a moment. That was a really interesting scenario where Cure, it looked like he wasn't paying attention, and that's because there was auto turrets dropping in his main base, and that allowed Oliveira to get that third base down. If Cure had been paying attention, he might have been able to drop a couple of interference matrices a lot earlier on, and things could have gone very well for him. But obviously that's an opportunity missed, and that's because Oliveira was getting aggressive on the other side of the map. Missile turret was built here on the top side, and it is going to spot this drop. And with boost, boost is going to be off cooldown in a moment. Oh, he actually spots it. Nice job from Oliveira. Good eyes. Very quick reaction time there. But as we head into mid-game, both players are similarly timed on their 2-2, similarly timed on their command centers. It is that Raven advantage, though, that could yield massive results. And here, oh, he wants to go for it. Siege tanks are a little bit far back.
They're like 6 interference matrices on these Ravens. That is every tank in this line. Oliveira has to be, they're all going to get shut down. He's going to try to dive on top. Anti-armor is a solid opportunity, and the Concave's nice. The tanks aren't really firing. Cure, well, he's just got so many Marines. There are more here, and the tanks are going to not be shut down eventually. But there is not enough steadfast in the slightest. Cure steamrolls that game.
He does. I like what Oliveira